If you can't see me, now you can. You're like, please turn that off. Please turn that off. Just turn it off. Hope everyone can hear me and see me well. Tell me in the comments section. I am using a new software. Yes, a new software that all the pros, the big guys like Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, of course, my friend Pigskin Pete. Jonathan, can you hear me, my friend? Hope you can. So I am going to try some new things on the channel. Other guys have already done it because they're brilliant. But I am going to talk about well, first of all, I'm using new software, using a new format. I just want to make things better. So I am going to dive right in to the reason why I'm going to this format and the reason why I am starting with week 0. Now, if you are a card carrying college football fan like myself, you will sit and watch the football games. It doesn't matter. All right. Well, I watch the games that doesn't matter. Now, I'm here on the East Coast, as most of you guessed, duh, with the Clemson stuff, but most importantly, the accent. All right. Jonathan Benton, Dwayne Wicker, good to see you, sir. Nice picture there. George, what the crap is wrong with people? Yes, I edited that for you. Edited it even more for you. People will not hit the like button. Go back to Dwayne's. That's great. But if you're here on the East Coast, if you're like me, you wake up, I don't know, 2 a.m. in the morning. You can't sleep. May there, do you Slim Shady Canes? I don't know about you. I have went downstairs because we have 2-story house. Go downstairs, turn on the television. And at 2 a.m., if there's still a football game on, yes, a terrible, awful Pac-10, Pac-12, Pac-8, how many other schools that are still left in it, you're thrilled to watch it. This has happened to me. I can't even count how many seasons now. So the games that I'm about to show you or talk about, I'm going to see if I can show it to you, folks. I'm afraid to do anything on here. Y'all forgive me. But the games that I'm about to show you right now, most of them, and I'm looking at it, I repeat, all of them, except for one, is trash. But it's college football. It's college football. All right? So I'm about to do something very, 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 very dangerous. I'm going to hit a button and I'm going to show you these games. And I might just absolutely have to bounce back here, okay? Y'all just forgive me if this goes terrible. All right. Now I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen. And then boom. Can you see that? Obviously. There we go. Now this is the screen that I am sharing at the time. Parker Henderson's in here. Parker, I hope you like the new format. I am struggling mightily over here. But I just want to do something new. Now, as I said, the big boys, the Mark Rogers of the world, the Pigskin Petes of the world, they've done this. this is not a new pony for them, okay? They've been there, they've done that. I'm here, I haven't. Week 0. Week 0, August the 26th. Now, I'm using fbsschedules.com. You can pull up any FBS schedule, FCS, NFL, and all those other things that we don't care about, but we know that, I mean, it's not a pretty format, but I really like this because I can just go up here to the, let me see, week 0, go to week 1, boom, we're there. But going back to week 0. So we're roughly a little over 3 months away from this terrible schedule that we're looking at. Parker, are you talking about yourself or are you talking about me? Either way, I'm bothered. All right, let's dive into this. The very first game, it's a Saturday, August the 26th. Just a little over 3 months away. We have Florida International at Louisiana Tech. What a terrible game. But I'll probably watch it. Why? Because I'm pathetic and I love college football that much. I wished that I loved baseball. Now, I'll watch baseball during like the college World Series or the Super Regionals. I'll watch baseball when the Braves won the World Series. I watched that. That meant a lot to me in the sense of the last time they won the World Series was the World Series back in the mid 90s. That was the year I turned 13. That was the weekend I turned 13. By the way, Clemson beat Georgia Tech 24-3 in Atlanta that weekend. I remember that. The guy in the bubble. Yeah, I bet so. I'd be flattered. Going back to this game, FIU at Louisiana Tech. Well, I was saying something about baseball. I wish that I loved baseball because there's just so many flipping games. College football, I will watch this. Next game up, Hawaii at Vanderbilt. Now, last year, Vanderbilt went to Hawaii. Pause right here. 30-second rant. This game right here, that is unimportant, and nobody cares about this game unless you have a kid playing on that team or you're a fan of the team. This game right here proves that for all those years we heard a bunch of excuses and bull crap from all of the playoff expansion people going, well, how are we going to figure out travel? The same way you do for a flipping game like this. Bunch of excuses. People arguing with their rear end. Just tell me you just don't want to do it, okay? Just tell me you don't want to do the playoff. Some guy named something. Good afternoon from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just a little over 2 hours away from you here in the upstate of South Carolina. Parker is in the metro Atlanta area. I don't want to say too much, Parker, because I don't know, how much information you want me to give away from there. Give away on here. It is the internet. There are weird people like George and, well, me that's on here. Might find you while you're using the restroom in some unknown state rest area, and debowel you. Thanks for hopping on the show. Okay, here's an interesting game. Excuse me. Back in 2012, I remember this. I just got married. Yes, I just celebrated 11 years with my wife. I don't know about y'all. If you've ever heard this terrible song from the 70s by a classic band called the Little River Band. They probably live by the ocean. And it's like, happy anniversary, baby. Got you. It's really cheesy and horrible. And for the past few years, if not more than that, every morning when she's barely waking up on the morning of our anniversary, I play that terrible song. Just to remind her that we haven't killed each other yet. But back in 2012, I just got married a few months earlier. Notre Dame and Navy got together in Dublin, Ireland. By the way, they were supposed to do this back in 2020, but there was something that went on back then that's just kind of escaping my mind. Try not to say it on here because you never know when you might get penalized just for saying it out loud. No, I am not crazy. That actually happens, folks. Navy and Notre Dame. This is a big game to me. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll go ahead and run down the games, and then I'll talk about the ones that sticks out to me. Okay. Next up, San Jose State at Southern Cal. We know what this is going to be. Now, San Jose State has improved by San Jose State standards, but I see this being a butt whipping by the Fighting Lincoln Rowleys. If my memory serves me correct, two of the worst college football teams last year, UMass and New Mexico State, lining up, duke it out. Once again, folks, this is a game. A lot of travel's involved. Pull up your hardy little map that you have, and look where Massachusetts is located. And then, I know this is crazy, look where New Mexico is located. Not the most convenient travel. And these two teams has a fan base that, unless you have a child on the team or you're just oddly addicted to your team, nobody cares. But they'll spend a lot of money going to this game. Next up, UTEP at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State a few years ago beating Florida State in Tallahassee. It's just 2 years ago. Florida State's now the diaper dandy of the comeback teams. But UTEP over the past few years has actually done pretty doggone well. Would they beat Bama, Georgia, Ohio State? No. But it's cool to see them get better. Next up, Ohio at San Diego State. San Diego State, from what I can remember off the top of my head, has had some really solid seasons over the past few years. San Diego State's probably going to beat them. Also, not the closest game in the world to each other. So let's get back to the game that's really sticking out to me. Slim Shady Canes got married in 2012 too. Congratulations. Mine was in May. We got married in Charleston on Folly Beach. And let me tell you this. I'm not a rich man, but even if I had all the money in the world, I would not change. I would not change the way we got married and where we got married. We got married on the sandy beach of Folly Beach, and it was a great time. We only had our parents and our siblings there. My grandparents surprised us. My cousin, who was a pastor, actually in the upstate of South Carolina, grew up best friends. Saw him a few weeks ago. We looked terrible. We both look terrible. We both don't have as much hair as we used to. He performed the ceremony. My other cousin is a professional photographer. He took care of that. I'm telling you, we did not have to worry about anything. We didn't have to worry about inviting anyone because when they heard we were getting married in Charleston, and that's an over 3-hour drive and blah, 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 blah. Nobody was wanting to come down there and just stay. Plus, they got the idea. My wife wanted a fall wedding. I demanded it was on Miami's bye week. Very good. Very good. Very good. You have to put your foot down, man. That's how you do it. I'll tell you how big of Clemson fans my family is. We have a lot of birthdays in September. And my niece, No, my nephew, both of my parents are in September and in October, and it's just crazy. And my family plans the birthday parties or birthday gatherings around the Clemson schedule and/or big games that we all want to watch. We're just forward about it. It's like, look, I love you, but we don't have to plan it this specific day. It's not like if I don't see you on your birthday, it doesn't count. My presents doesn't count. The card I give you doesn't count, obviously. So I'm going to jump right back into this game right here. Navy versus Notre Dame, Dublin, Ireland. As you can see, it's going to be on NBC, Peacock. Now, remember, if you're on the East Coast, like me, Ireland is 5 hours ahead of you. So don't be shocked if the game is at like 12 o'clock. Don't be shocked if the game is at 11 o'clock. I want to say that the last time they played was in 2012. Stephon Tuitt was on the team. That was the year that they went undefeated. Everett Golston playing. I can't speak, y'all. It's nothing new, but I can't speak. It was, I'm going to take these off because I was expecting to hear a little more. I didn't know if I was going to have some guests on the show. I might do that. I might try that. But Stephon Tuitt was on the team. Everett Golston. That was a fantastic football team. I think Stanley Nix was on the team. But that's the team that went undefeated and then played Alabama and got murdered by them. That's also the year that Brent Musburger got in trouble for telling the truth. They had a picture. They panned up into the stands, and there was AJ McCarron's then girlfriend. I believe they're married now. Good for them. And Parker, I do want to hear a joke. Give me 1 second, and then I'm going to pull it up. And I'm going to see what I can do here. I want to see what I can do here to get you on here. Parker, how would you like that? Now, I'm not going to make any promises. Would you like to come on for a second? I don't care if you have to go to the restroom. You can, maybe it won't work. I don't know. But anyway, Brent Musburger said that boys and girls, that's what you get when you become the quarterback at Alabama. And everybody got mad and said it was tasteless and it was wrong and everything. Show me where old Brent lied. Well, he's an old man saying that about. Listen, dude, I'm 40 years old. I am dedicated to my wife. I love my wife. I am not going to go around just talking about other women about my, and maybe, you could sit here and say, well, especially if he's married, that was kind of creepy. But I'm just saying that George is killing me over here. What he said, the moral of the story that Brent Musburger was saying was, if you are successful and you're the quarterback for Alabama, especially during that time and even now, you can get a beautiful woman. I can't believe it. Well, you keep going back to living in your world where everything is kosher and perfect. But yeah. But that was that year. And that was really a fun game. I think that year. Want to hear a joke? Yes, Parker. I missed that, Brian. What did you say? I said, yes, I would love to hear a joke. Let me see. Folks, I'm going to try something. Look, this is a first time for me. I know that I've got 5 people on here. So it's a bunch of people who were on here, and I say a bunch, but let me see. I am going to do something crazy here. I am going to post my live stream in the comments section. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you something. If you want to come on, there are a few. First of all, I don't know how this is going to work. I'm going to stop sharing my screen as well. If you want to come on to the Bobby Dirkens show, the not Bobby Dirkens show, I am totally fine with that. But some ground rules. Let's keep it clean. Let's watch our language. And if you just start spouting off, saying a bunch of stupid stuff, I'm just going to just kick you off. So somebody will probably go, I thought he was. Let me see. Why do Gator fans clap their hands like a Gator chomp? Why? I got to hear this. This is fantastic. So anybody who wants to join me, go to the live stream there. Click it. And we're just going to talk for a second. I know some people, they'll stay on for an entire show. I'm not going to, no offense, I'm not going to do that. Just come on for a second, say hello. Just let me know if you want to get in. If for some reason you're trying to get in and you can't, please let me know. Oh my God, I got Slim Shady Canes in here. He's chewing gum and grinning like an idiot. All right. So, Gabe says, before I bring on Slim Shady, and once again, Slim, listen, dude, you're the first person. I can't even hear you right now. You are the first person. I haven't brought you on, so I can't hear you. You're the very first person I've ever had on in any format. So don't wreck your truck. And if you've started a militia, don't say it out loud. Tell me afterwards, and I might see what the viewing fees are and exactly what we're militiaing in. Gabe said, I'm faithful to my wife, but he told the truth. She's a beautiful lady. To me, the idea, Gabe, was not that she was a beautiful woman. The real idea that offended everybody was that whatever her name was, that's what happens if you're successful. People don't like to hear that. People don't like to hear that if you're successful, a girl will date a guy or marry a guy who looks like a foot. They don't want to hear that. All right, here we go. I'm adding Slim Shady to the Canes to the stream. Folks, this is Bobby Dirkens, not Bobby Dirkens history. I feel like I need to call my mom and have her put this in the baby book. Oh my God, you're there.
What's going on, buddy?
All right, I'm not eating fries like you. What are you doing?
I stopped for my lunch.
So Slim Shady, you and I have talked several times. We have we've been on other shows together, but we've never engaged in a show like this. Thank you for being the very first guest on the Not Bobby Dirkens Incorporated LLC show.
Well, I'm very appreciative and humble, sir. I really am.
I don't know if you have a resume, but you might want to put this on it.
I do have an updated resume. I keep it just in case because you never know, right? And yes, I will add that to my list of accomplishments and accolades. And I may even put you down as a reference.
I will lie like a dog for you. Do you trust him with the keys in my pocket? So where are you at today? I know you're out truck driving it. Where are you at today, if you can say?
Somewhere in Kentucky. That's about it. I'm probably about an hour from Louisville.
That's good enough for me.
That's about the best I can give you. I can't tell you what town I'm in.
Oh, that all looks the same. Stupid, worthless story for you, my friend, and for everybody else, the 9 people that are watching right now, which tells you I'm really doing well. I'm not really big into like horse racing, but over the past few years, especially in 2020, there was nothing to watch. And but I started like getting into it. I don't know everything about horse racing, but I signed up to get Kentucky Derby tickets, this lottery, like to have the first chance at it. And I was like, I'll never get the chance.
Yeah.
I got picked, but the things were so doggone expensive. It was like $400 a ticket to go sit out there where they shoveled the horse dookie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I can't do that.
I'm gonna be honest. I would have to put some serious thought in a $400 a ticket for a Miami game. Just being honest.
You would. I bet you would. I bet you
I've never paid that much.
Not that me neither. I've either had a really good friend being a really good friend, or that's how I did it. I'm not going to spend $400, $500, $600, $700. I mean, that game's going to have to be really, really important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and now there's one game I went to, and that this was when I was younger. It was actually the last game I got to go to in the Orange Bowl. It was 2003, I think. Miami versus Florida. They called it the comeback game. Brock Berlin was the quarterback, and Miami came back from like 32-10 down and won the game.
I remember that game. I was watching that game.
I was at that game.
I was watching that game. I just pulled up your schedule. Friday, September 1st, your very first game. I think this is a little tongue-in-cheek for all my friends out here. Now I'm breaking the rules, and we're supposed to be talking about week 0, but this is my show. I can do what I want.
That's right.
Yeah. I will get mad and take my ball and go away if you don't like it. Week 1, it's a Friday night, September the 1st. Miami of Ohio at Miami, Florida. I think that is fantastic.
I like it. I like it. I hope we win it, especially after watching Middle Tennessee State last year. I hope we win it. But listen, I think, I mean, we've talked enough football to know, for you to know, I'm not going to, I look at things relatively realistically.
Yeah.
The reason you had so many people leave is because, in my opinion, because of the carousel of coaches they've had, not just head coaches, but all the coordinators.
Yeah.
You had a whole bunch of people in there that just didn't care. That's what leads to losing to a game like that. They should be able to sleepwalk through that game and win it.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't, I think you have a bunch of people that don't care. That's why you had 22 guys transfer out. They brought in a bunch of transfers. They brought in a good recruiting class. They're going to be better this year. That should be an easy win, but don't count your chickens before they hatch, as they say.
Well, see, that's one of the things that I think about, that I think about with the whole transfer deal. Now, for me, my criticism of Sweeney, and if you've watched any of my show, you know that I appreciate Sweeney, but I'm not part of the cult.
Right. Nobody's above criticism.
Nobody's above criticism. And the moment that you can't criticize someone if they're doing something wrong, what are we doing here? You know, the fall is coming. It's there. With Miami, I look at Miami, I scratch my head. I think about the recruiting ground down there. I think about all of that. I know being a fan of Miami, that has to be tough. But I'm telling you, folks, I really believe that Cristobal could right the ship and make things better. But once again, you know, going back to Sweeney, and I was talking about, you know, criticizing him. Sweeney got to a place, and I understand, he thought that I can hire from people, I can hire from within, people who understands how I operate, why I operate, who understands what I'm going for and everything. That sounds really good on paper. The problem is those people have to coach. I look at Miami. Miami kind of got to the place to where they felt like we can basically hire anyone, where Miami, it just didn't pan out like that.
Well, and I think they got away for so long being able to hire cheap and having success.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to, they hired, nobody knew who Jimmy Johnson was when they hired him. He had been at Oklahoma State getting his brains beat in year after year by Nebraska and Oklahoma. Nobody knew who Dennis Erickson was before they hired him. Butch Davis was Jimmy Johnson's DC. But what I think a lot of people didn't look at, all those guys were hired by the same AD. And when he left, that kind of magic sauce went away. The guy that had the eye for, who could be the next coach. And they continued to try to be cheap. Donna Shalala decided, well, I'm going to, pull this money and pull that money, put it over here, put it over there. And it'll keep going because we're Miami. And it didn't work out that way.
Well, that's what I look at. Like Notre Dame, for instance. Now, I know that Notre Dame fans are going to tell me how much they either love Marcus Freeman or they're going to hold their tongue and they're going to say, I don't know how I feel about them. Okay, verdict is out on him. By the way, with Tommy Rees leaving, it's kind of like Wes Goodwin, the defensive coordinator for Clemson. He had all this talent leave this year. So, yes, he does have a lot of talent still there. Trenton Simpson, Brian Brisset, Miles Murphy, losing those types of guys, he's going to be given a pass. So at the same level, Marcus Freeman's going to be given a pass because he has a new offensive coordinator and he has Sam Hartman, which between you and I, Sam did a good job here and there. I would have dedicated myself to Tyler Buckner. I'm sorry. I would have. Sam is done after this year. I would have went with Tyler Buckner, but try to stay on subject, and I do a terrible job at that.
Me too.
Yeah. I really believe that Marcus Freeman is going to be given a pass there. With that said, and going back to my original thought, why in the crap does Notre Dame continuously go and hire people that does not make sense and then come out and say, we're Notre Dame. We're amazing. We're great. We're one of the winningest teams of all time. When you think college football, whether you like it or not, even if you hate their guts, we're part of one of the greatest teams of all time. And then they go out and they hire cheap, unless you, and that's to your point, unless you have the eye for it. Yeah. You can assess talent. You better go out and find, and even then you still might want to go out and find the best person you can possibly get for the job.
Sure, but I mean, Notre Dame, now granted, you're going to have this with any program that's got a history long enough. There have been some stinkers at Notre Dame before. I mean, Jerry Faust, they try and forget those years. So, I mean, okay, you don't get it right every time. Now, I do think Miami's problem is a little more complicated than that. I also think they lost their patience, which has kind of happened with everybody. I mean, Mario Cristobal was, and I have harped on this with Miami fans till I'm blue in the face. Mario was we played 18 seasons in the ACC. Mario Cristobal was the 6th head coach in 18 seasons.
Yeah.
That's not a formula for success for any program. And even just more recently, and this is the main one that they can't seem to grasp a hold of. They just look at head coaches, but when now you're up to 5 defensive coordinators in 6 years and 6 offensive coordinators in 7 years. What are you doing, guys?
Well, and to talk about that, I should not be drinking it. First of all, I should not be drinking a soda on air because I'm just going to burp nonstop. So everybody who's listening to me or watching, I apologize for being a slob. With that said, Much to what you just said is a really big deal to me, and let me tell you why. I understand fan bases becoming extremely impatient
Sure.
because it's easy to say that a person has only been at a school for 3 years. But when you think about 3 years, that's 3 years of eligibility. That's 3 years of paying a lot of money to go to games. That's 3 years of recruiting and transfers and so for me when I step back and I look at some of these hires, I've seen it at Clemson. I've talked about that at nauseum. Let's take St. John's basketball up in New York. They had a
Yeah.
pretty solid basketball team this year. And year before last, they had a really solid basketball team. They had a guy named Julian Champagny playing for them. The guy had NBA written all over him. His brother, I think, is in the NBA. And Mike Anderson, not a bad coach, but I watched the games. He didn't utilize it. This year, he had a pretty doggone solid team. Didn't utilize him. Well, what does St. John's do? They fire him. Who do they hire? No matter what you feel about this individual, when it comes to morals and trustability, they hired Rick Pitino. And what has Rick Pitino done already? So immediately, like 8 players said they were not coming back. We're leaving. Posh Alexander being their point guard. Guy's a fighter. You like watching play ball. But he's already brought in so many top players. And yes, rumors are swirling. How did he get the players? Are we going to see this all over again? We'll see. But my point in all of this, people get impatient because they see eligibility being misused. They see great players like Brian Brisset. He's here and he's already gone. Yeah. It was just like yesterday. People were calling him. They were calling him Thanos. Clemson signed Thanos. Well, guess what? Thanos is no longer playing for Clemson. This has come and it's gone. So I think the big story here, Slim Shady, is that the people who are paid ungodly amounts of money needs to be the experts that they're paid to be, or we need to replace these people.
Well, and kind of to piggyback on Miami's basketball situation, that kind of shows you what patience can do. They brought in Jim Larnanga, who, had a pretty good reputation coming in. Miami's never been a basketball school, never had a dominant basketball program, had made it to like the Sweet 16 twice. They've given him the time to build his program. Okay, crap happens in 2020. All right, we get it. But now you've got back-to-back an Elite Eight, which they've never made, and a Final Four, which they've never made. But they let him build his program, much like Clemson did with Dabo Swinney. That the time Dabo was given is unheard of today.
I mean, a lot of people forgets that his second full season, he was 6-7, and you're looking at one of the people who will openly tell you I was calling for his head. Yeah. And it's easy. Hey, you know what, folks? It's easy for us to look back at the Red Sea moment and go, yeah, the sea's going to split. But when you haven't read the story and you're standing on the other side of the Red Sea and you have an Egyptian army coming after you, you're freaking out. And that's what I look at with these scenarios. Swinney was given time. I think also what really makes Swinney, and this is what I've really harped on, and some great comments from Parker here, and I'll get to that in a second. One of the great things to really look at with Swinney is on day one, he fired Rob Spence, the offensive coordinator, because he was like, our offense is not where it should be. He hired Billy Napier, of all people, to run offense. Yeah. He gave him some time, about year 2, maybe 3, fired him. He gets Chad Morris. We get into that embarrassing Orange Bowl with West Virginia, where we lose 70-33, which, by the way, if you go back and watch that game, you get into midway through the second quarter, we're still pretty close. So that tells you how bad it fell apart. He fires Kevin Steele, now I don't even know how this happens, the new DC, Alabama. He showed the Clemson people that he shows the Clemson people, I will make the move. And even though I'm frustrated with some stuff that's happening, he showed the Clemson fan base, hey, look, I gave Streeter this chance. He fired him after a season. That's pretty aggressive, and I'll even have to rebut myself on that. But I'll throw this in here. Parker says, after success and the successful coach leaves, schools want to get back, so they hire and fire if seasons don't add up the way it used to be. I think it's a perfect mix of let's make a good hire and let's temper our expectation. And that's what you have to do.
And that's a lot much easier said than done. You know, I've made this comparison because a lot of people have, here lately have been talking about, Nick Saban's impending retirement because everybody knows it's coming. And a lot of Alabama fans are pointing to Dabo Swinney, obviously, as one of the replacements. And I tell them all, I say, Dabo Swinney's too smart to do that. I said, nobody in their right mind wants to be the guy to follow Nick Saban at Alabama, because it does not matter what you do. It's not going to be up to the Nick Saban level, and it's not going to be good enough.
No. What's the rule of thumb? Never be the man to follow the man. I was at church last night, and we were we started the second book of Chronicles because our church has been going through First Chronicles, Second Chronicles. At the very end of First Chronicles, David passes away, and he's handed off the kingdom to Solomon. And in the very first book very first chapter of Second Chronicles, Solomon takes over, and he does a lot of the right things at the very, very beginning. And it's like, wow, this is going to be great. And more than getting to chapter 2, which I know there's some time that's passed there. He starts already just blowing it. And I was telling my wife, I was like, from a biblical experience or just from a real life right now, not to say the Bible's not real life. That's not what I mean. But what I'm just saying in a personal application, wouldn't you hate to be the guy that replaces, whether he's your dad or not, the guy who's one of the greatest military figures of all time? Wouldn't you hate to replace him?
You kind of already seen it, though. You've seen it, who, in my opinion, was the greatest college football coach I've ever seen. Look at Nebraska since Tom Osborne retired.
Oh, my God. See, I believe wholeheartedly that the 95 Nebraska team. Now, I know the 2001 Miami team was amazing. Excuse me, the USC team with Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. Obviously, you have to take in consideration LSU a few years ago with everything that went on. I know that Georgia fans are going, what about Georgia? Last year, Georgia, and the year before, you won your national championship. Congratulations to you. But you won your game against Ohio State when they were missing both their star wide receivers, and you still almost lost. And the year before that, you had to play Alabama, who ends up basically in the same scenario. You had to beat Bryce Young with their 2 wide receivers hurt by halftime. So my point in all of that is, yes, you're fantastic, but I'm telling you, I believe that 95 Nebraska team was the greatest college football team to ever step on a field, to see who, and it's who they did it against. That Florida team was a who's who.
Oh, yeah.
Who won the national championship the very next year. So,
yes, they did.
So 62-24. It's wow. But yeah, you're right. That school has never been the same since him. Now, I know Solich took over. He got them to play against your Canes. Yeah. Your Canes beat them in the national championship at the Rose Bowl. That was an incredible game. But since then, it has been a dumpster fire. It's been terrible. Parker Anderson throws in here, Same with Tennessee's program. Heupel's is doing great last season. But what if they go under 500 this year? Let me tell you this. That's a great point. And by the way, I'm looking for really good YouTubers who know their team. I've already reached out to a few. One of them is I think it's Sports J Talk up in. He's a big Tennessee fan. He's already signed in. We're setting up a time for us to get together. Of course, Pigskin Pete, he's going to try to come on the show when he gets the time. Mark Rogers has already signed on. Yes, the voice of college football said he would do my itty bitty show. But that's one of the things that I want to ask him. What happens if Tennessee comes out this year? They did lose talent, and they lost significant talent.
Yes.
Too many people look at what Hendon Hooker did with Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman, and it's easy to go, man, it's next man up and reload and all of these slogans that's good to put on the side of a coffee cup or on a marketing ploy. But I'm telling you, folks, when you lose a Jalen Hyatt and you lose a Tillman and you lose that field commander, I'm not saying you're going to be terrible. I'm just saying it's just like with Todd Monken at Georgia. Georgia fans think, Bobo's going to run the same system. Dude, it's the adjustment. It's the person, the intellect, the ability of the person who's not only creating the strategy and calling the plays, but making the adjustments and encouraging the team. Folks, that's a big deal. That's a very, very big deal. What does Tennessee do if it should fall apart? If it should be a 7-win season, if it should be a 6-win season, what do?
They'll turn on him quick. Tennessee fans have already shown that. I mean, look how Butch Jones went 9-3. They turned on him quick when it didn't add up the next year, and I think that's a very. I'm like you. I don't think Tennessee's offense is going to fall off the map, but if you're trying to sit there with a straight face and convince me that Joe Milton is going to play as well as Hendon Hooker did, I'm not buying it.
Well, I've said this a lot on this channel, and anybody who knows me personally, I've talked about this because I just love college football. But my brother-in-law graduated UT. We're really good friends. We watch a lot of games together. I watch a lot of Tennessee games. I can tell you, and he's a realistic guy. He's a lot like me in the sense he's just going to tell it how it is. He loves his team, but he's going to be realistic about it. By the way, my laptop, I thought it was plugged up. It's about to die. Y'all give me 1 second. Y'all forgive me. It might be even God saying that I need to get off of here. So let's see. Ridiculous. All right. It's always good when the host of the show has to walk away. Classy move. No, but I can tell you from candid conversations that he and I have had together, I can tell you from his responses, knowing that Milton would be the guy having to play against Clemson. That was the greatest game Joe Milton has ever played in his college career.
Yep.
And when I talk to Tennessee fans, I'm not trash talking here. I'm telling the truth. He played the greatest game of his life against Clemson Tigers, beat them by 17 points. Good for you. That's one game against his entire college career. Do you really want to place your hopes and beliefs on that guy? Yes, he's a freak athlete. But even if his offensive coordinator within the past few months he basically chided the Tennessee media. He said, "Look, I'm yes, he's got a freak arm. I'm tired of talking about it. We need him to start putting touches on 5-yard passes."
Yeah.
We need this. That's the problem with Joe. The problem with Joe Milton is not athleticism. The problem is he doesn't know how to control his athleticism. That's the issue.
Kind of like Michael Vick. He had that cannon of an arm, but he never developed the touch on the ball like you're talking about.
And the thing about Vic was at least Vic could get you the win. It was just once a brilliant person on the sidelines with the headset on who had really good players, when he got that strategy together, that's that's the problem. That's the problem these guys run into. That's what I've said, and I know we've dotted all over these different teams and so on, and totally got off of week 0. But hey, this is fun. And anybody else who would like to join the show, I do have a link up here if you'd like to join the show. We'll talk for a bit.
I just love talking football, whether it's Miami or whoever.
I just put that link back in, or repasted the link in the comment section. So if you'd like to get on here, the only thing that the guidelines are, let's keep it clean, let's keep it family friendly. If not, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but I'm just going to cut you off. So, with that said, the University of Colorado hires Deion Sanders. Deion, I believe, was one of the best athletes that ever played any game. I think that had. I don't think that if Bo Jackson would have got hurt, I think Bo Jackson would have definitely surpassed the idol worship that goes to Deion. Deion would still be respected, but Bo Jackson was a different animal. I think that Bo Jackson was, one of the greatest athletes to ever do his thing. With that said,
and he was before Deion, if I'm not mistaken.
He was, and he was. I don't know. Deion, let me put it this way. Obviously, I'm no big dude. I'm no big athlete or something. But if I had to tangle with Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders, I'm taking Deion right now. Because Bo Jackson would murder me.
That was a big boy.
Oh, yeah. The videos of him snapping a regulation wood baseball bat across his head and walking off like it was nothing, folks, that's power. But anyway, okay, look, one of the things that and I've got a really good comment from Knoxville in here. Knoxville, I'm glad you hopped in here. I don't see Tennessee's fans turn on Heupel anytime soon. I agree with your comments on Milton. Tennessee fans, I know, share your concerns. Yeah. Hey, listen. This is just like when I have to say some really hard truths about Clemson, and Clemson fans get on TigerNet and talk about what a moron I am and what an idiot I am, and I'm this and I'm that. How did the past 3 seasons go for us Clemson fans? I called it, didn't I? Well, yeah, I called it. And I'm with you, Knoxville. I'd like to see a return of Tennessee, but yeah.
And I think he does. I think he believes that. But unfortunately, this being the internet, and I've got to deal with the dumb things that other Miami Hurricanes fans say all the time. What gets pointed at is, like, there's a Tennessee fan named TriStar. He's one I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Comes around a bunch of shows and is talking about, Heupel's going to have Tennessee's defense playoff caliber this season. No, sir, they're not. That's going to take time. That's going to take recruiting, if it even happens. Because, I'm of the opinion I'll throw Josh Heupel in the Lincoln Riley category until proven otherwise. You're a great offense, but your team has limitations.
I will agree with you to a point. I believe that Heupel is a better coach overall than Lincoln Riley.
Well, he may be.
I think he is, and here's the reason why. First of all, he hasn't had as much time. I will give him that. He has not had as much time at a major program. But I get where you're going with that. I think that the Tennessee fans, what they need to enjoy is the journey at this point. I know that sounds very new agey. I'm not a new agey guy. It's really ridiculous and stupid, and I hate that crap. With that said, I think that you need to enjoy it, temper your expectations to a point. It's like Clemson this year. I don't see Clemson making the college football playoff. Do I see us winning 10 games? Yeah, I do. Do I hope that our offense gets better, especially that we have a four-headed monster in the running back room? Yes. But why do I believe that we don't have what we should have, starting with the offensive line? Our offensive line is anemic. Our wide receivers have definitely got to improve. That might be the next coach that's fired. We don't know. We've still got to get this system under our belts for Lincoln Riley. Cade has a lot of growing up to do. Once you get to this level of ball, your athleticism can only go so far. Next, our defense. Our defense is replacing world-class talent.
Sure.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, I see now Clemson situation always factors into it. Do I see a fairly easy scenario where Clemson goes 11-1, wins the ACC? Yes, and if that happens, Clemson's in the playoffs. We know
probably
that.
so. Yeah.
So I don't think playoffs is unrealistic. Maybe winning a national title at this point is a little unrealistic to expect for this season, but I don't think an appearance in the playoffs is.
Maybe so, but I'll tell you where I'm at as a Clemson fan. If it's between us going to the playoffs and getting our head ripped off, or us dropping a game in the regular season and it keeps us out, but there's still a good standing there and it doesn't kill morale, I would be more up for that than going to the college football playoff and get my head ripped off. Hey, I'm going to catch a couple of comments right here. Jamie Stone, I'm on way to Hampton. Yes, you live in the general area that I do. He says he's on his way with a beer. Just make sure it's not Bud Light for me. I'm not drinking that crap. Els King, you need to stop reading comments too much. Talk football first. Who cares? I have been talking football, but I appreciate that you're here. Mind of Alexander, I'm not saying it'll be the case, but if Cade Klubnik doesn't meet expectations, who would Clemson turn to? I would still go to Christopher Vizina or Vizini. I always get it, Vizini or Vizina.
However you say his name.
But I don't think they'll have to turn to him. I know that some of Hunter Helm's family actually came on my website and got angry at me that I did not count Hunter as a realistic replacement for Cade. If Cade went down, no offense to Hunter, you're a much better athlete to me, and maybe you're there, but I'm just saying, I just don't see that right now. I wish the very best to him, and I really do. Parker Henderson, great comment. A lot of people forget that Chauncey Stuckey is actually a wide receivers coach up at Notre Dame. Played for Clemson back in the day. He played in the NFL. He's a former player with real experience outside of Clemson. Yeah, that would be a great hire for Sweeney to go get. Guy Dwayne Wicker, he was Hooker before Heupel. That's coaching. I agree with you. I think that Hooker was one of those players who was talented, but then he went into a system and that system developed him. And that's one of the great things about coaching. And that's one of the things that we forget about coaching. Just because these guys come into a school and they're either great or they're subpar, that doesn't mean that they can't grow and be developed. That's what a coach is paid a lot of money for.
Well, here's where we're going to have us a disagreement. Because I don't think that's coaching. I think you almost hit the nail on the head when you said system. And I'm going to take it a step further because I completely agree with the people out there that say it's a gimmick system. Okay, you're running an offense so fast that you're catching when defensive linemen haven't got up on the ground, off the ground yet, and you're already running another play. That's a gimmick.
But for me, I step back and I say the gimmick is part of the strategy. So if you're working within a system that allows you to do that, do it. The problem is if you get to the NFL and the system is different, and we definitely know that the NFL is different animal.
Oh, of course.
That's where people gets exposed. Let me see.
Well, and if Hyatt is to be believed, he said in an interview, I can't remember what game it was before. It may have been before the bowl game, the Clemson bowl game. He said that they only have 11 plays in the playbook.
Hey, it took 3 plays with a third string quarterback, or 5 plays with a third string quarterback for South Carolina to go to Athens, Georgia and beat them.
Yes, it did.
And that's not trash talk. That happened. Which, by the way, Dirkens Joyner, for any of you South Carolina fans who might have bumped your head and you've stayed here, you've listened to me, or you've listened to me from time to time, and maybe you're just scanning across YouTube and you find this live and you hear me talk about South Carolina. Let me tell you something about South Carolina. Dirkens Joyner is one of the most underused players, not only at South Carolina, but in college football. And I like Shane Beamer. I hate that he coaches the Gamecocks, but the guy is very talented. I'm just going to tell you straight up, y'all, that Dirkens Joyner is underused. You should use him more until you play us. Then you should go sit him because he's that talented. Jamie Stone says, I never drank Bud Light. I prefer the blinds. I'm just kidding. Headed to Jervy. Young Pablo says this. Let me see. The guy on your stream is on Pigskins Pete live stream a lot. Same guy? Yes, that same guy. That's the Slim Shady Canes.
Yeah, I make my way around.
He makes his way around. Well, listen, folks, I've got to make my way back to work. I took some time off. It's been a very, very slow day. Slim Shady Canes, thanks for joining me on here. I hope you have a safe drive while you're out and about in the great state of Kentucky and beyond. Folks, let's go back over this. Week zero schedule. I'm going to share my screen again.
Right, I'll hop off here. If you ever need a Miami fan or anything, you can get my number from Pete if you want to get a hold of me.
Absolutely.
And, call me anytime.
Absolutely, dude. Slim Shady Canes, thank you so much for joining me. Be safe.
Yeah, boss.
Folks, I'm going to go back through the schedule real quick, and then I'm going to be calling it Slim Shady Canes. Thank you so much for joining me on the big show here today. I don't know why I said it like that. Got 18 people on here. Thank you so much. Thumbs up if you would like to throw in a couple of last-minute comments. Mind of Alexander. Do you think Tyler Buckner or any of the quarterbacks be like Jake Coker? Jake Coker was a backup at Florida State. Was a backup to famous Jameis Winston. Lived in his shadow. Then he transferred to Alabama and won a national championship. We will see, my friend. I have watched Tyler Buckner play a lot of football. He's a good one to have. I know some Alabama fans are like, he's not that great. Except for Bryce Young and Tua, you haven't had great quarterback. You haven't had great quarterbacks. I know Mac Jones had that one great year and blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying, overall, the majority of your wins have come at the hands of okay players. I'm going to share this schedule one more time, folks. So this is week 0. So we're only a little over 3 months away. Saturday, October the 26th. Florida International at Louisiana Tech. Hawaii at Vanderbilt. I love this game because it spits in the face or exposes the lies we were told about the college football playoff. How are we going to figure out travel? That's a lot of traveling. I go to church with a guy who's a big Tennessee Vols fan. I'm here in the upstate of South Carolina. He's a friend of mine. He went to every Tennessee game last year, including the bowl game. You mean the Alabama game? Yep, he was there. You mean he definitely didn't go down to LSU? Yep, he was there. People with the money, the means, and the time, they'll go anywhere. And with these bigger programs, that will happen. What doesn't make sense is Hawaii and Vanderbilt. They don't have big fan bases. But the teams that would end up in the top 12 at this point, top 8, but it's going to be a 12-team playoff, they've got it. They'll make it happen. Trust me. Navy versus Notre Dame in Dublin, Ireland. Remember, they're 5 hours ahead of us, so don't be shocked if this game ends up being a 10 a.m., 11 a.m. game here on the East Coast. It wouldn't be a shock. San Jose State at Southern Cal. San Jose State has been much better than what they have been over the years, or the past few years, but it's at Southern Cal, so that's not going to be good. UMass and New Mexico State, two of the worst teams ever. They're going to be playing each other. They figured out travel. Nobody's going to go to that game. You want to talk about a waste of money. UTEP at Jacksonville State. Yes, the same Jacksonville State who beat Florida State at Florida State 2 years ago. How many times did I say state there? UTEP probably going to win that game. Ohio at San Diego State. San Diego State's probably going to win that game as well. Notice I didn't even call Vanderbilt and Hawaii. Who knows? Some last comments before I get out of here. Young Pablo, Tyler Brown will be Clemson's Antonio Williams this year. Well, I'm going to tell you this, young Pablo. I hope you're right, because Clemson needs as many players. Let me tell you what really, really makes a team unstoppable and a freak. It's when players on the team are so good that good players are sitting on the bench because they've been outworked in practice and on the field. And that's how Clemson became so dominant, especially the last most dominant year was Trevor Lawrence's freshman year. You say, why do you say that? Well, we saw the results. On that defense, you had an Xavier Thomas. This is for everything that's went on with him, and I hope him the best. He was a freshman playing on that line, and I'm not going to call the young man's name, but remember, there was a young man who was a 4-star recruit, signed with Clemson, comes in to camp, and immediately transfers out. Now, I've heard stories. He's even personally contacted me and told me to keep my mouth shut. By the way, he did that to Bobby Dirkens. I guess he thought Bobby was real. And I hope everything is all right with everybody. And I'm not taking anything personally, but I'm just saying, or meaning to be personal towards anyone. But I'm just telling you, folks, what happens. And Slim Shady just made a great comment right there. When Sean Taylor is on the bench because he can't get Ed Reed off the field. That was that 2000-2001 Miami football team. When you have so much talent, and what happened with this particular player who contacted me personally and told me to keep my mouth shut, which it was Bobby Dirkens again, was he got to Clemson, and I don't know this to be the case 100%, but I have a stinking suspicion. He got to Clemson, and he was being outworked by other people. And he transferred. That's where you get these great teams. And then all of a sudden, your first string goes out, and people don't know it because your second string is actually your first string too. It's just for some reason that guy got the call this week because he was playing that well. Tiger 2 Deep says, what's up? What's up to you, my friend? Folks, I'm going to take another 5 minutes. I'm going to repost this. If you want to quickly join, because I'm about to get off here, you want to quickly join the broadcast, hop right in here. Just the ground rules are No foul language. No talking dirty. Try to stay off politics as much as possible. Man, I'm so sick of it. Y'all, I'm so sick of that. It is just so terrible. So flipping terrible. And you can't help it either because it's everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere. So, as I'm waiting to see if anybody wants to hop on here, what do I take away for college football? How things are going, the playoff, the ACC falling apart. What do I see? What do I see coming together right now? I'm going to tell you what I see. Had to text there or email. While college football is going through a lot of changes, and there's going to be some dumb things that are done. We've already seen some dumb things like Southern Cal and UCLA in the Big Ten. That's dumb. I like good traditions. I hate bad traditions. And the last thing I want is people creating 2 super conferences and everything's decentralized or centralized, excuse me. You have 2 big conferences and that's it. But maybe we'll get some of this right. Maybe we'll get the playoffs. I know that in the 12-team playoff, we're going to have some just absolute disasters. You also have to remember that in a 12-team, let's just take a number 12 team versus a number 1, a number 2, a number 3, a number 4 team in the regular season. And let's just say that number 12 team had some hiccups in the beginning of the season. They get towards the end of the season, and all of a sudden they're hitting on all cylinders. How many times in football, college football history, have we looked and said, man, if that team just had a second chance right now, I think they could beat about anybody. I can think of a few teams that could have happened. That's what we'll get. Of course, we're going to get blowouts. We get that anyway. In the 4-team playoff, we've seen a bunch of blowouts. Parker says, I'd love to join the show, Brian. Will you do a show tonight? Unfortunately, I can't do a show tonight. I have something else I'm having to go to. Parker, I'd love to have you on. A lot of people hears me talk about the Henderson sisters as a joke, but Chase and Parker, they're brothers. They've been really good friends to me. They've been big supporters of Bobby Dirkens and the show. And I know some people are like, what do you talk about them? And what do you talk about Tiger Nation? And you mad, bro? And you know what? When you do a show, you put yourself on the internet, people are really vile. You will find out very, very quickly. And it comes with the territory. You put yourself on here, people are going to say, I'll never forget, I've told this story 100 times. My dad called me one time and he was like, have you been on TigerNet recently? Because I did a Bobby Dirkens thing with another big Clemson YouTuber. It was a big deal. Like it was everywhere. Had people coming up to me going, wow, I heard that you two are going to be working together. I was like, yeah, we're going to be working together. It was a really cool thing. And there was a bunch of people who didn't like it and ripped into me on TigerNet. And it's like, well, first of all, Bobby Dirkens is a made-up character, so. But there's a local radio station that's very, very well known, who it got back to me through someone who knows them, that they were told to stay away from me and a few Clemson YouTubers. See, you asking me why I bring up guys like Parker and Chase and Tiger Nation, and why I bring up people like you mad bro? I'll tell you why. Because these wonderful people who have become friends has supported my channel by just simply watching and then going beyond that. and made donations to the show. They've been friends. They're people that I talk to from time to time. So when they come on here and I talk to them like I know them, it's because I do, and I appreciate it. So hopefully, Parker, I'll be able to get you and your sister Chase on. Can't wait for him to hear that. Tiger 2 Deep make the SACC, South Atlantic Coast Conference, add Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. That would be crazy. Young Pablo, what do you say, my friend? The fact that all this is happening with the ACC and nobody mentions the fact that if ESPN really wanted transparency in college football, they would allow the ACC to. And it's not showing up what you're saying, but I think I've got an idea too. They would allow everybody out of the contract to renegotiate the TV deal to ESPN. The fact that all this is happening to the ACC and ESPN won't let the ACC come in and renegotiate the TV deal that ESPN genuinely doesn't care about transparency in college football. It's business. I've said this over and over. College football is business. This is business, period. End of story. That's why sometimes when I see the transfer portal light up and the traditionalist inside of me starts to go, man, I don't like that, or that young man I think jumped a little too fast. Let me tell you why I chill out on that. It's because it's a business. These coaches lie to players all the time, and vice versa. Parker, I'm not even going to put that up there, but you outdone yourself. Yes, not me. Bobby Dirkens is. Let me see if I can get Dirkens on here. Let's see. It just takes a second. Different hats. Lord, I tell you right now, I was out there in the backyard. I was working. And I'll be dang if this woman didn't come by. And I do believe, could be wrong, that woman had doo-dooed herself. She doo-dooed herself. That's it. Or she didn't know how to properly wipe her tail. See, folks, I just bounced between the stupidity. It is here. Young Pablo. It's called sabotage. Yeah, it's called sabotage. It's also calling. Listen to me, but let me turn around and say this before we villainize ESPN. And I'm not the biggest fan of ESPN in the world. Okay, I'm not. I don't. They're part of the whole Disney ABC family. I don't trust them much farther than I can pick up my house and punt it to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. By the way, I live almost 4 hours away. So, I mean, just to move it an inch would be one thing, but to punt it to Myrtle Beach, I don't trust them. But the people who negotiated this deal, they should be held accountable, folks. It's terrible. Tiger 2 Deep says, yep. Slim Shady has come back. Slim Shady, I'm going to be on here for just another moment. I'm going to add you on there. Slim, how's it going?
You just reminded me of something. I got a news alert on my phone this morning about, it was an article from the Miami Herald. Now, they just specifically referenced Florida State and Miami, but the revenue split is about to change in the ACC.
So, what does that mean? So, the reason that everybody wants to, just please forgive me because I'm not working with a lot right now. So, what that means is the reason that everybody wants to renegotiate this deal is because of that revenue split is going to be changed, correct?
Yes, more than likely.
Oh, yeah. Well, that explains everything.
I mean, I haven't had a chance to sit down and read the whole thing thoroughly, but when you brought that up, it reminded me that I glanced at it this morning.
Well, folks, I'll throw this out there. And Slim, thanks for throwing that out here. I appreciate it.
Certainly.
What have you been doing for the past 5 minutes?
Ate my lunch.
That's good. But no, folks, Can you imagine where Wake Forest or Georgia Tech would make about the same money as Clemson? That's hilarious, especially when it comes to football. So I say hold the people accountable who negotiates the deal. And there's a reason why when you go to the ACC network and then you flip to the SEC network, it's totally, totally different. Yes, I know the SEC has won all the championships and blah, 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 blah. Yes, that's right. I'm not denying that, but I'm just saying, come on. This is a modern day. You can make it look a little better. But anyway. Well, folks, listen, I'm going to let you all go. I've said that for 45 minutes, and now the time of truth has come. Slim Shady Canes, you take care of yourself. Parker, I want to get you and your sister, brother on the show. Folks, hey, we're a little over 3 months out, but we're already looking at college football. We have something to look forward to. You go have a good day. Take care of yourself. And try not to let all the crazy stuff going on in the world make you crazy yourself. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.